Hi, I'm here with one final lecture on this for this course on critical thinking, and I hope with this lecture to offer some kind of comprehensive vision or sort of comprehensive survey of what we have tried to cover during this course. A way I thought to do that is actually to revisit something that we encountered in the morning hours of this course, and it will actually be it will be a re-encounter. And what is to be hoped is that because of the water under the bridge, so to speak, because we have the entire course in the interim between the first encounter and the second encounter, that what we first encountered at the beginning of this course, that we will in some way be able to encounter it, in a deeper way. Put another way of thinking about this is that we ourselves will have become somehow deeper, capable of deeper vision, or more insightful vision, greater insight. And so that's my hope with this short lecture. And what I have in mind specifically is to revisit the parables that we first were introduced to at the beginning of this course in the early morning hours, and I have in mind the parable of the blind man and the elephant, together with Plato's parable of the cave. Just to briefly recapitulate each one of those, the parable of the blind man and the elephant tells the story of six blind men who come to encounter something of which they know not what, but each of them encounters this unknown thing from a different aspect, from a different angle, and because they're unable to they're unable to even entertain the notion that there could be a coherence to all of these diverse aspects or diverse facets of this being. They're unable to entertain that there could be an inner unity to this outer diversity, and for that reason, they fail to grasp that the thing that they're in fact encountering is an elephant. Instead, each of them thinks it's something separate. One of them thinks it's a wall. One of them thinks it's a tree. One of them thinks it's a snake. One of them thinks it's a, etc., etc., and so on. And so this is kind of in some ways the parable illustrates something for us. And in the beginning of this course, we entertained several ideas of what it might be illustrating for us. But now I'm going to just recapitulate the second parable, which is Plato's parable or allegory of the cave. This Socrates tells this parable in one of Plato's most famous works called the Republic. And the parable basically gives the vision of prisoners in the bottom of a cave, whose faces are turned towards the deeper into the cave, towards the bottom of the cave, a wall on the bottom of the cave, and they're watching a sort of shadow show, and we can see, because we're given a kind of an overview of the scene, we're able to see something that the prisoners cannot see, and that is the fact that those shadows are being cast on the back of the wall by actual marionettes, like figures, and there are people that are manipulating those marionettes, and the prisoners don't know the difference. They don't have anything to compare the shadows to. In other words, for them the shadows don't. It doesn't occur to them that the shadows are the effect of something and not merely and not in themselves actual entities or actual causes. So the shadows are the effects of actual causes of which the prisoners are unaware. Plato also describes how a prisoner can free himself from the bottom of the cave and slowly ascend the cave, and this the way of thinking about this is really that this person is achieving insight into causes of effects, and so this is a kind of it's a deeper and a greater insight to understand the cause of something and not merely the effect of it. And placed together, I think we can see how these two parables are they're not the same parable, but they actually bear the same kind of inner unity that in fact the various aspects of the elephant bore. And what I mean by that is they both illustrate, they both give form, or they both give kind of imaginal body to actual inner cognitive or intellectual processes that in themselves don't have a shape. So I think it's self-evident that my own process of understanding something or cognizing something certainly doesn't look like an elephant. It doesn't look like a cave either with shadow shows. But at the same time, there's something that we're able to, there's an analogical kind of thinking by analogy. In some way, in some kind of mysterious way, we're able to recognize likeness, despite likeness in, on the one hand, something without shape, without form. We're able to recognize a likeness in something that does have form, that does have a shape. It's not at all unlike, in fact, the process of reading. We what we read is fundamentally not it's not contained, or it's not identical with the text or the letters or the medium or the matter by which we read that thing. What we read is always meaning. But meaning itself doesn't have a shape. It certainly doesn't look like letters. It doesn't look like blocks of text or paragraphs. By the same token, it doesn't look like images either. Nevertheless, we're able to recognize some kind of unity between those two things. And that's fundamentally what I hope to get at with this lecture. If we have to call it something, we can call it the process of understanding. The process of understanding is the process or the activity by which we move from this kind of exterior unity, exterior diversity, or sort of a fragmentation almost, that we encounter, whether it's through our senses, as for example, discrete letters on a page, whether it's through our minds, but it's discrete propositions or information, different sources of information, different news articles, for instance, or whether it's again through our senses, it could be images that we're perceiving. All of these things, they're kind of like raw material. They're grist for the mill. They are straw that we have to weave into gold, so to speak, with an allusion to one of the famous fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm, thinking of Rumpelstiltskin. But the idea is that's a place to start. Knowledge or information or facts or perceptions, sensations. This is where we begin the activity of critical thinking, but it's not where we end that activity. And so this is I'm basically making the distinction between knowledge and understanding, or put another way, propositional knowledge and actual understanding, comprehension. So I hope that difference is clear, and I just wish to emphasize the fact that it's actually a process of, in some way, we could think of it. These are spatial metaphors for something that again is fundamentally not spatial. But we could think of it as a sort of ascent from what is visible and what is sensible to what is intelligible. And hence the image of Plato's cave gives. Well, we recognize the resonance with Plato's cave because again, he describes the philosophical journey as something rising in elevation. And so again, not spatial rising, but it's a kind of intellectual ascent where we move from this kind of external or exterior diversity in which different objects appear just like discrete objects, separate objects. The process of understanding is the process by which we will recognize an inner coherence or an inner unity within those objects. So it doesn't nullify or negate the matter by which we are perceiving this meaning or this unity. It doesn't negate the individual objects, but it unifies them into a coherence, into a whole. We could think of understanding as actually recognizing wholes out of parts. So what I wish to emphasize, though, is that understanding itself or meaning itself per se, as such, it's invisible. It doesn't look like anything. Um, it doesn't have a shape. It doesn't have a form. It's not in space. We arrive through objects that do have a form, but we're arriving at something that doesn't have a form. It's rather it's the moment of epiphany, the aha moment that doesn't look like anything. It's an experience, but it's not a sensory experience. You know? And this might sound abstract or kind of, again, esoterically philosophical, but it's not. In fact, it's our basic connection to the world. It's our connection to other people too. I think this is very straightforward. But if somebody's sitting across from me, whatever I see with my eyes and could reach out and touch with my hands, hear, whatever access I have to this person by way of my senses, in a similar way, if I'm reading a letter from somebody, whatever access I have to this person by way of my senses, that's not the same thing as well. A person's sensible manifestation is not the same thing as that person. It's related, and it's in some ways it's the same thing, but it's not identical. And what I mean by that is that this person expresses him or herself through all of these different sensory media, sight, touch, smell, etc. But the being who is expressing him or herself through all of these sensory media is different from any one of his expressions. And again, these parables can show us what exactly that means. The elephant is not the same thing as the way the elephant feels as a the elephant is not exactly the same thing as the sensation of the elephant's trunk, or the elephant is not the same thing as the sensation of the elephant's side, and so on. In a similar way, the causes of the shadows, so the beings who are casting the shadows in the cave, are not the same thing as the shadows that they are casting. They relate to one another. They certainly bear an inner relation, but it's a relation of cause and effect, and it's not an identity. An identity wouldn't be a relation in the first place. So I hope that what I've said in this lecture can in some ways really try to come close to something like the kernel, or the very pith, the heart of critical thinking. And if I've succeeded to do that, then I will be content. And I wish to. This is probably a good place to end the video. But I also wish to, just send my holiday blessings and wishes to everyone. And until we meet again, farewell, and signing off. Until next time.